Awesome. We are good. We are recording. So hello, Jay. Hello, Justine. Yay. Thank you
Hello.
for
Hey,
doing this.
Stephanie.
I'm so excited to have you here. I'm so excited to chat about this. This is something when I was doing my planning for this topic series and doing spirituality and practice, sound healing was on there because it's something I've experienced in the past and I fell in love with it. And then, of course, everything pandemic happened, et cetera, et cetera. And then when I was researching and such and found your studio and your practice, I was like, oh, and so right after I went and I had a session with you, um, I was like, okay, that's yeah, yep. And again, how things align and connect because I'm like, I don't know where to go after the pandemic. I'm like, I don't know where to go or who was doing this.
Sure.
I had actually at first a hard time finding a group or center unless I had to travel really far out down to the city. Um,
Mm-hmm.
then I found your studio and I was like, oh yeah. And then again, just things sometimes connect and I
That's
That's
right.
right.
They
yes.
do.
So thank you for being here. And I want to get started right away because I have, as I usually do, a million questions. So,
Nice.
what brought you guys to this field? I don't want to say field. I want to say practice. Like, how did
Hmm.
this happen for you? I'm very so curious.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, I think I love how you brought up sound, wanting to bring it in,
Mhm.
because it does have a lot of people think it's sort of like a new agey thing,
Yeah.
and that it's fairly new, but really, sound healing has been around centuries, maybe thousands of years. And also, each one of us has used music and sound to alter our moods,
Right.
um, to release, to get pumped up, to dance and express. So I just wanted to point on that for one moment that although it does seem like a very new thing, but I guess it's
Mhm.
new to maybe so many yoga studios, although technically it is, I don't know a lot about yoga, but really sound is a form of yoga.
I would agree. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, but for me personally, I've always loved music. I've always loved concerts, music festivals, being in a crowd of people all resonating and dancing and vibing to that same music, that harmony, that feeling or the emotion. So that was always a really big thing, a big connection piece. And I mean, we've both played music. I won't tell Jay's story, but we've both played music throughout our lives. And, and I, of course, didn't always make great decisions and
As
acted
none of
out
us,
in right,
as
You
none
acted
gotta
of us
out
learn.
in
do.
Gotta learn somehow.
various
Yeah.
ways, held in my
Exactly.
traumas, and you
Yep.
know wanted to wallow in self-pity sometimes, not all of the time, but I
Sometimes you
did.
do. Just give yourself
Yeah,
a day sometimes. Like, this is my day. Tomorrow, no more. Today, yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
exactly. But I knew that I always felt great when I was uh, at concerts I loved. At That music made me feel good, and then it was really a processing through grief that really
Okay.
took me into sound, like for intentionally healing.
Okay.
So um, yeah, like I'd moved through lots of things with music before, but when my mother died, there was a lot of other family things that happened with it, and it was very explosive and traumatizing. I'll just go with that
Yeah.
word. And I was looking for different ways to like heal and move through it
Yeah.
and be me. So music in this intentional way came came forward. Like you said, things connect.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
It's
And so
true.
now, hold on. I also want to hear your story.
Yeah. All good. Yeah.
I'm like, I want to hear it because then I was considering, how did you guys? Yeah. Nope. Let's just take this one at a time because this is what is everything I want to know. But so then, how did you come to this?
For me, music led me to the sound the intentional sound healing that we do as far as sound baths and what Justine does.
Mhm.
So early in my life, music, as it is for a lot of people, is a really beautiful way to be able to express yourself,
Yeah.
or to be able to find a voice where maybe you don't have one or don't feel like you have one. So music is a beautiful thing that way, to be able to connect with your heart and to be able to express a feeling that is almost indescribable a lot of times. And that type of feeling and heartfelt kind of emotion built around music, personally for me, has led me to this, where it's a matter of connecting with other people and sharing with other people and allowing them the opportunity to just kind of kick back and open up wide and just be present and connect with their heart, connect with the people in the group, connect with Justine and I. And every sound bath we do is a totally unique experience, even if it's like the same length, the same instruments we use, the same space we're doing it in. Each one is very, very unique. It's kind of like almost like the sound bath is like a living thing.
Yeah.
And so for me personally, it's that deep kind of connection to music as a modality to express and to connect with other humans.
That's amazing. So then my next question, so for those people that have never heard of a sound bath, that don't, like, we're going to go right back to no idea what a sound bath even is. So can you break down for us exactly what is a sound bath? If somebody were to consider an experience, what could they expect? Like, what is it?
And we never know which one's going to talk. Well, we'll both share a little bit about it. One way of looking at a sound bath is it is a full body listening, because we often think of listening just with our ears.
Mm-hmm.
But this way, every cell is being immersed in sound. Every cell is listening. And it is a meditation. It's a form of meditation which is easily accessible to everyone, because it's just enough to slow our mind down, to get into or to get away from that external noise.
Right.
And because as we relax and we open and slow down, then we start to go internal and we start to listen to ourselves, to inquire. It's like a journey of self-inquiry, self-discovery. So it is a way just to slow down. And if you think of your body as an instrument, whether it's a piano, a guitar, because we're vibrating, we're vibratory beings. Our blood is vibrating, our bones, our tissues, our skin, everything is vibrating. And so really we're an instrument, we're a song, and every instrument needs a tune-up. Mm-hmm. So we're very busy in life. Mm-hmm. And if we stay in this busy state, we get burnt out, we get anxiety, we get stress. And our brain can easily stay in this state of external noise. So to
the sound bath, and a sound bath, so like I would enter a room,
and
then I would
lay down,
right?
Like similar to yoga, we'll say in savasana, so laying on your back on the floor. I mean, if you can't lay down, you're always welcome to sit up. Mm-hmm. And then it's always encouraged in the sound bath, if you can, to keep your eyes closed, just to cut that connection from time and space, and to allow yourself to go inside, because as we slow down, like I said, we go within, and that's where, you know, we get mental clarity. Mm-hmm. And a lot of healing begins there.
I will also say too, now, benefits, because I mean, you mentioned some, but I'm going to ask in order just to kind of reiterate, because I think the benefits of sound baths or sound healing, they vary. So we can go, like you said, very much kind of the internal reflective, which is part of the reason I remember I wanted to try it. I remember how much I struggled with it in the beginning, because the first few sessions that I did go to a few years ago, I couldn't sit still. And I was like, what is it? A friend of mine wanted to go, and I was like, oh, I don't know, man. And then interestingly, it was the very thing, as it always is, that you need, that you struggle with the most. And I remember I went in and I lied down, and I'm thinking, what am I doing here? Like, and my brain is, we hadn't even started and my brain was racing. And as it usually does. And then our guide, our instructors were in front, and they started hitting certain tones and certain notes. It was crystal bowls at the time, and it was the drum. The first two sessions, I kept twitching. My legs kept twitching. The instructor noticed that, and afterwards had a chat with me about, also a social worker. She's a certified social worker, and then we started talking about traumas. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? And the connections and the conversations we started having, that's when I started to sort of understand this concept of sound and this concept, because afterwards, after I went a few times, how I felt after, I was like, oh my God, like there's got to be something to this, because I felt so relaxed and so much more, in such a strange way. I felt energetic, even though I was completely relaxed. I'm like, what is this? So it was always something that I became more and more into. And then I started paying attention to how my body felt, like in general. So this, my own anxiety, my own struggles with depression or things like that. So there's a physiological, wow, physically how I felt, physically how I felt. I'm like, there is a noticeable difference here in terms of how I feel. And then of course there's that inner monologue that I was finally able to kind of quiet down. And then I'm like, oh my God. And then it's become something that I am wholeheartely addicted to. Like wholeheartedly, I would seek them out and search for it, etc. Because I feel like it's restorative in so many ways. And then I read a book, I spoke to you about that briefly before, Sound Medicine. We have it on our book recommendation on our website for the spring, by Dr. Hope I pronounce this right, Dr. Colruyt Chaudhary. And she breaks down sound healing to a molecular level, and how our neural pathways can be sort of healed and reframed in so many ways in terms of trauma. And I was fascinated by that. I'm like, seriously? And how different tones, vibrations, and how our bodies, as our heart rate lowers, our blood pressure lowers, our body becomes in that healing like state. I'm like, I never would have, just paying attention to that kind of thing. And then same idea with, your favorite song on the radio kind of thing, and how it puts you in a certain state, but you don't necessarily start to connect. Like, why do I feel so much better when I'm listening to this song? Well, it's like, yeah, okay, I like it. Yeah, on a superficial level, like, yeah, I like it. Or the bandmate's cute, like whatever. But it's like, but like it goes, even when you start to understand sound, which has taken me a while, but appreciating, like, oh my God, there's just so much else going on underneath. So in terms of other benefits of sound healing and sound baths, are there more? I'm sure there are many more that I don't know. But that was just some that I came across that I was like, holy crap. I feel like people need to understand that in some way in terms of a healing process, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think too, a really kind of easy way to imagine the power of sound is to just think about like how you feel when someone's speaking to you. So like the human voice is the most powerful tool that any of us have, no matter how good you are at a musical instrument or whatever it is. Your voice is actually the most powerful healing thing that exists on the planet for you, especially. But when you think about going to the doctor maybe, and the doctor's speaking to you about something, if they yell at you, you're going to feel a very certain way, and it's going to have an effect on you. If they speak calm and, exude that kind of feeling to you, you're going to feel a certain way. So just even the way we speak to each other is a really obvious way that we all encounter all the time, right? A number of times a day, that affects the way that we feel. So sound, when used with intention, with an instrument or your voice, can have the same type of effect on any of us. Wow. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you definitely hit it. Like, it's very restorative. harmonizing of our brain, the left and the right together. So as we come down, and that really builds our creativity. And it's great, like you said, blood pressure, um, anxiety, stress. It can help with physical pains,
Yeah.
healing after surgeries. It does allows us to release emotions, because in the reality is everything starts from our emotional body, our emotions. And if we ignore that, then it becomes something physical. But also knowing, like all systems in our body, right? The respiratory, circulatory, the lymph, the endocrine, all 11 systems in our body work on flow.
Mm.
So, music, breath, it helps bring this flow back. And if we do have some energy that maybe feels stuck or stagnant, or we're holding on to a trauma somewhere, that's not allowing the flow in that
Mhm.
area to be optimal. So, as we continue doing things and retuning and always connecting to our heart, really, because that's what everything is about, is having that heart connection.
Right.
I mean, I think it's limitless, because our intention is so important when we come to a sound bath or a private session. And I mean, it might change while you're there, but if you have something you want to focus on,
Yeah.
what you want to motivate, what you want to activate during your time, it's, and you are open to it and fully surrender,
Yeah.
because we don't want to resist, then really anything is possible. And you said what you've been learning about sound, like you can learn for lifetimes. I think it takes lifetimes to master sound, but it definitely, there are certain things, like for instance, if you have a concussion,
Right.
some people will say no sound,
Mm.
but it it can also be, like you said, it fires new neural pathways and things. So if you make sure that something is in harmony and it's quiet, like there are ways you can actually heal a concussion if someone is skilled and knows what they're doing, so that you're not damaging. But it's, our brain is amazing, our bodies are amazing, and we are also sound. So it's another reason why it's constantly shifting, um, and bringing harmony and coherence to our body.
Yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
would love to get into your studio, like your specific space, because, well, like I said, I've been there. I think it's beautiful, and I think
Thank you.
people
Thank
should
you.
know more about it, because there's so much context behind it, and I would love it. Could you share the space of which you've created and the background about the yurt and what that is? Because prior to your session, I had no idea. So yes, can you describe your studio and your space?
Sure. So our space and our business is called YURT Wellness,
Mm-hmm.
and we're in Collingwood, Ontario, as you know.
Yeah.
And our business is a couple of aspects to it, but basically, essentially, it's a Mongolian yurt inside of our commercial space,
Yep.
with our kind of sound healing instrument store. And the yurt was in our backyard for 2 years. So it's a 20-foot super gur Mongolian yurt, made in Mongolia. Really beautiful, beautiful piece. And part of the thing that we really love about the yurt, aside from the sound, which is amazing because there's no right angles inside the yurt, so it's all a big circle and it's just beautiful to work in. But every aspect of the yurt has a intention and a spiritual significance that's been given to it by the culture that's lived in the yurts for thousands of years. So every little component of the yurt has a deep meaning and story to it, which is really cool. So the yurt has no nails, no screws, no bolts. The Mongolians were a nomadic people, similar to indigenous cultures of North America. So they traveled from place to place. So the yurt could be taken down and put up. And it's an extremely strong and well insulated living quarters. But for our purpose, we put it in our backyard because there just wasn't really anywhere locally that Justine could do her sound healing work that was like that had the vibe and intention to it that could be maintained, and that would allow her the ability to do sessions all the time. So we were sharing space with other beautiful studios and other amazing people too. But when you're working with a number of people all doing things at the same time, it gets a little tricky to maneuver. So we kind of made it our own space in our yard. And we started doing sound baths, and Justine did her sound healing there as well. With COVID, and once it hit and everything, the backyard wasn't really the best spot for our yurt, because we're in like a pretty tight residential area. So our neighbors are really amazing, and they put up with us for 2 years out there banging away on our gongs and whatnot. So this is kind of, we've upgraded to an indoor space. Which has allowed us the opportunity to do things in any kind of weather, whether it's minus 40 out, it doesn't matter. We're inside, and it's also a nice spot because we can do a number of things in one day without a huge changeover required. But the yurt is the focus of our business, and it's, well, technically Justine's the focus of our business, and the yurt is around Justine, and the rest is built around that. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the energy or the vibe of it, and that is I can't. There's no other word I could possibly even say other than a vibe of it, because as soon as you walk in there, I was like, oh my gosh, like it was beautiful. I'm like, what? And again, I had no context prior to coming in. I'm like, what is this thing? And then of course entering it, and as soon as you enter, like as soon as you go in, I can't describe it. It's just there's a like it's energy. It's exactly that. Is there's a flow of it, and you get quieter. You don't mean to. You don't realize. My family and I, because they came with me, and we had this chat in the car on the way home, because I wanted to hear their thoughts and what they were thinking about it. And it was as soon as you walked in, you get quieter in the best way. Yeah. And it was like, oh my God. And then like sitting down and just sort of like, again, how you guys approach it and set it up, and giving and then providing the backstory of sort of what the space is. It sets you in such a positive state prior to kind of engaging, of course, on the amazingness of a sound bath in and of itself. But I mean, the space is definitely all part of that experience, and it's really beautiful. Like it was just, we talked about it for the entire way home. my family who indulged me, because when I found, like I said, I was like, oh, done, who's coming? And sometimes they're like, okay, like, we'll go along with whatever wacky thing Stephanie is on board with. And I'm like, love it. Exactly. That's exactly how it is. And they're like, okay, we'll try it. I'm like, yes. And and it was just, oh my gosh, they had that's an amazing time. So
that's another thing, like with music, you can get more people to try it because it's so much more accessible than a lot of other modalities. Just to someone that's maybe not interested in trying something spiritual or woohoo, although I don't think any of it's woohoo, but
I agree. But but I understand the context, because it was my dad and my partner, who's done it also adores it. But my dad, a little more old school European, he's like, hey, so what is it? And like, I'm like, okay, all right, I'll try to do this here and explain it in the best way that I can. And it was exactly that. He goes, nah, it sounds weird. I go, it's really not though. It's not though. Like it's that stereotype that, how you associate this kind of woo that I think some people associate it with. And like, it's really, really not. And I promise you, like, if you were to try it once, I said, you'll get it. Like, there's just some things I can't describe to you what it feels like what you walk away with. Sometimes it's so hard to explain, but you have to experience.
It's hard to articulate something you haven't felt before.
Yeah. And it's 100%. So I also want to talk about, because you mentioned the instruments that you guys use. So whether it's a gong or there's the bowls, etc. And I think different places will use different things, different instruments, which is wonderful. So out of curiosity, every instrument creates a different vibration, of different tone. Are there specific instruments that target specific areas of the body, of the mind, or is it something that you're creating as a whole prior to sort of the instruments you choose to use, or that part I'm not sure about in terms of what instruments to use to target what in general.
So this is where our mind comes in, because
Ooh, okay.
sound moves to
Right.
wherever it needs to go. You can experiment yourself, or actually, even right now, if you just close your eyes.
Okay. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'll try and not to make it too loud.
Okay.
Okay. And just imagine where, or pay attention to where you feel this, and then I'll tell you what people would say it represents.
Okay. So where I felt it?
Yeah.
Left side.
And any specific spot on your body?
Yeah. Left side back.
Right.
My back on, yeah, this side.
Yeah. And do you have any back problems?
Right now, if I'm being honest with you, my neck, having a slight issue in this area with my neck is causing me some issues. Here, like here area. That's yes. Yes.
Yes. So if we were to go to a store and look at this singing bowl, so this is a rose quartz F sharp singing bowl.
Okay.
So people would say that's connected to your high heart. However, not knowing what it is and closing your eyes and just feeling it.
Right.
Like, where did you feel it, Jay?
Almost like my legs.
See, and Jay felt it in his legs. So I find personally, when we target it in these ways, thinking F sharp, I need this for my high heart, we're limiting the possibilities, because we actually don't have any control over where sound goes. We can set our minds to say, you know, my shoulder's sore, or I'd really love some pain relief for whatever is causing my neck pain.
Right.
And the sound will move throughout our body where it's needed to go. However, some instruments are more grounding, more activating. So it'll depend on the more natural it is made. Like I play the didgeridoo, very natural, a wooden tube, basically.
Yeah.
So the more metal, so the gong would be very activating and really shake a lot of things up and get you going. A crystal singing bowl would also be quite activating, because there's so many overtones and undertones to all of the instruments, but you hear a lot of them in the crystal singing bowl and the gong. So we can think of, if someone's coming to you, and do I want them to leave? Do I want to take them on a journey? Like maybe they're feeling low, so I want them to come up higher, and I don't want them to leave at this high, but maybe higher than how they came in. So you can sort of choose your journey by how someone's feeling. Or maybe someone needs to just come down, so you can choose your instruments in that way too. You can choose, do I want to activate them? Do I want to ground them? And choose your instruments that way. Now there's also tuning forks, which is very like, okay, you're feeling something and you're pinpointing, well, I'm going to put this on the heart. You're going to feel that in your heart because it's physically touching you there. But so it is kind of, my personal belief is it matters with our minds. So if you're choosing instruments, to choose what resonates with you, what you feel, use your intuition, your knowing, because we all know what we need more than anyone else. And choose by playing the instruments, play a bunch of crystal bowls. Don't come in and say, my root chakra is blocked. I need a sea bowl. Because, you know, try the sea bowl. That might be the one, but it might not. So I'm all for trying the instruments and seeing how it feels, where it feels, and you'll know. You'll be like, yes, this is mine.
That's kind of part of our motivation with selling instruments too, is to give people the opportunity, which is in our experience extremely rare, to be able to actually connect with something like a gong or a number of gongs and kind of feel it out, as opposed to just blindly ordering it, which is how basically we had to do it with all of our instruments. So it's nice to be able to do that too, you know, aside from like just directly connecting to any specific point in the body, really just feeling it and being open to what it is and what it makes you feel like, if you're in the position to purchase something like that or whatever. But yeah, an open mind is the key to all things.
Your intention,
all things healing.
Your intention, your open mind, open heart, and if you're coming to a sound bath, because obviously you're not choosing the instruments that are happening in that, and most people will use a variety of different instruments, even whether it's just different singing bowls or chimes, bells. So they will bring different feelings up. But again, it's not your choice. That's why your intuition, your motivation, your intention is what is important that you arrive with. And we each get what we need.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And people, you know, it can be a very profound experience, or maybe it feels like nothing happened at all. It's going to be different every time. But the most important thing when you do go to a sound bath is that your facilitator is playing like from their hearts in a space of love and compassion and kindness. And then you will, with your openness and no expectations, receive exactly what you need.
And I never even, because when you really like look at it from that lens, so when I go into a sound bath, because there's just so much different, like you're up, like in terms of why we're choosing different tones, etc., and creating that experience of like, okay, we're going to go up because maybe we need to go up and then we're going to come back down. But from that lens, it's very, I guess, more, even understanding that is actually much more harmonious, because you're with the intention of taking whoever's in front of you through varying levels and tones on purpose, and then ending in a specific kind of grounding like way. I love it.
And I think too, we never shared, which would be important for your listeners too, that a sound bath isn't like a concert. It's not rhythmic. It's not there's not melodies happening, and there shouldn't be things repeating. I don't mean like same sounds repeating, but in a rhythmic pattern, because that gets our mind busy again. And we start counting, and then you're searching for what to expect next. So
humans love to count. We can't help it. We just love it. That's why we love rhythms, and we love to dance, and we love all those types of things. But with our sound bath in particular, I'm sure other people use all kinds of other things. But it's nice to just have this wide open. There's nothing really to grasp at, so you're just kind of you're present. You're present, and you don't know where you're going, basically, which is a beautiful place to be. If you're in a safe spot, you're relaxed, and you're with people that you vibe with, you know. So
and the release of control, Lord knows they need it, just so you know. That's why just take
it's also important to think about too, with sound baths, is that you think about music, a lot of us have an idea of a commercialized sense of music that's only existed for 100 years, where sound as a healing and a ritual aspect has been used since the beginning of time. So humans have used the power of sound and music, their voice and instruments, drums, whatever it is, for good and for community and for healing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So a sound bath, the way we like to think of it, kind of ties back into that type of mentality, as opposed to anything that has anything to do with commercialism or money or catchy hooks or anything like that that we all love about the music that we love, and that's healing in itself too.
Yeah.
But a sound bath is a very different thing. So it's nice for people to, if they come to a sound bath for the first time, to kind of let go of the idea of a concert or music, like Justine was saying there, and to be aware that as a human on this planet, your ancestors have been using this tool since the beginning of time to help themselves and their communities and their families.
On that note, am I allowed to ask for a sample?
You are. We're gonna attempt a little, like maybe like 3 minutes, 3 or 4 minutes.
Yay! Perfect.
So we'll see if this works.
That's amazing.
So it's always nice before you receive sound, which again is like a tune-up of the nervous system. Yeah, to close our eyes and just take a few deep breaths. So I'm just going to invite you and your listeners to imagine you're taking your breath up the left side of your body, inhaling through your left nostril and holding it for a moment at the top. And then exhaling down the right side of your body, out of your right nostril. Inhaling from your toes, up the right side of your body. Holding it at the top for a moment. And exhaling left side. And one last time, inhaling left side. And holding that breath at the top. And exhaling down the right side of your body. And just returning to your natural breath.
That was awesome.
Oh, good. We weren't sure how it would sound in our little
And the
basement.
first, I always see a color, always, and it was
Yeah.
purple. Don't know why.
Mm,
Oh,
Don't know what that.
nice.
Don't know significance of that. I will look into that because that's where my brain will go. So I'll have to know.
yeah.
But like I always see, even when I was in your studio, I think I saw green and yellow, and
hmm
this is purple.
Well,
I'm
some people will
Nice.
connect the colors to your chakras again, too, right? Purple being your third eye, your connection to your intuition, your higher self, your inner knowing, your innate wisdom. Green would be like your heart, yellow, your solar, your building your inner fire.
oh my, there's just so much to know. Like you know what I mean? Like you don't
Hmm.
know that, think of that prior to just diving into this. I would have never associated sound, color, chakra, nothing, like trauma. Just for
Yeah.
me, it's like, and yet, like you said, I think music, vibration, tone has always created such a
Yeah.
feeling of community together, like always has created this, and why we love and pay for music
Mm-hmm.
and concerts, like why
Mm-hmm.
we are so drawn to it
Yeah,
without even really understanding beneath the surface of it, of why
It's
we
a
are so drawn.
it
for
creates
sure.
a bridge from our unconscious, well, or from our conscious to our unconscious mind.
It's
So
amazing.
it opens up so many things. Some people will might smell something, a sound. We had a sound bath yesterday, and the woman said it brought her back to kindergarten because she could smell. We have fake candles, like battery powered candles in our yurt. And she said all she could smell was beeswax. And then it brought her back to kindergarten because her teacher, they used to read to them, and each kid would hold beeswax to keep them busy while she was reading. So it brought her to like that moment
That's
into
cool.
a
Hmm.
memory. And I just wanted to share with you that color and sound are
Yeah,
side by side on all of the spectrum, the whole spectrum of frequencies, color and sound are side by side. So it's very
really.
common to see color or to use color and sound therapy together.
They're the same thing,
Hmm
really, essentially. It's just a
Yeah,
different end of the same
yeah.
spectrum. It's all vibration and frequency.
hmm
And so where my brain just went, so I paint, like I paint, I have for a long time. So in my association with color,
hmm
and when I'm painting or when I go into studio and I start working on something, um, and sort of how I then I can shut off, like in terms of
hmm
immersing myself or being sort of tangible with paint or like color and pigment, and being more like interactive with it and using it. I've always found to be incredibly meditative, and how I can kind
hmm
of zone in, where again it's something that's very hard for me in my life to kind of, and with my own ADHD, like to try and, there's very few things that I gravitate towards in the sense of a lot of properties and reasons, but where it can center me or focus me,
hmm
painting, meditation. It's taken a long time for that, but getting there. And sound, like sound healing, I find I can very much tune
Yeah.
out and go in, which is so important, but hard for me to do. And I gravitate so much more. So the association of sound and color, again, how my brain, like, oh, there it is. There,
There
Yeah.
it
that
is,
makes
yeah.
sense to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's cool.
And then also knowing if you do see visions when you're painting, meditating, or
Mhm.
uh, receiving sound, to know that whatever the belief is, spirit, creator, our higher self, what,
Whatever word.
whoever we're connecting to,
Yep.
speaks to us in the language we understand. So I always say, like, I give the example of a cross. You know, if you see a cross, for someone that might represent death, for someone that could be religion, another person that could be their grandma. Like, so just to know that's why it's all about self inquiry, self discovery, because
And yeah,
it's different messages for us, and we
the
see in the
individualist
way we
experience.
understand.
Yeah.
Hmm Yeah.
Please tell everyone how they can get in touch with you to either book a group session or a private session. And I know you guys offer a variety of services. So can you please tell listeners how they can get in touch with you?
For sure. So our business is called YURT Wellness, which is YURT Wellness.
Mhm.
Our website is yurtwellness.com. And so on there you can book, or you could contact us or join our newsletter. And there's a couple other cool things on there. So if you go to yurtwellness.com and scroll through the various tabs, you can find things like video of somatics. So the visual aspect of auditory sound. And there's a beautiful video on there done by Journey of Curiosity for us of Justine playing didgeridoo. And he takes the sound and blasts it through a speaker and then up into a bowl of water, hits it with light, and then takes pictures and video. And you can actually see what the didgeridoo is doing to affect the water itself. And it's pretty amazing because we're made of water. A similar thing happens to all of the cells in our body when you're going through a sound healing with Justine. But yeah, yurtwellness.com. We're in Collingwood, Ontario, and our Instagram is yurt.wellness. That's our handle there. So we post a lot on there. We've got all kinds of cool stuff coming up, group stuff, private stuff, and really cool instruments coming and going as well.
And I will make sure like all the information and links will be posted on our website, as well as in the show notes below with our audio, but in our videos. Thank you so much for chatting with us, for letting us know about your own practice. And I cannot recommend a sound bath enough to anyone. It's just such an amazing experience. So thank you so much for chatting, for coming in.
Thank you.
We're grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.